Welcome everyone. In this session we're going to see the part 2 for the management accounting, decision making and control. We have done the first video for the part 1, and from this part 2 we're going to see how exactly we can analyze the theoretical question. Sometimes some students they found really difficult the theoretical question because they feel this will be a bit challenging to write for 15 marks or 18 marks question. And to be honest, sometimes it's really challenging because after writing few points, student cannot write more. So maybe whatever they're writing is not enough for 18 marks. So it is very important you analyze the question, you make some point, and you start writing based on that point. So let's have a look. How can we analyze the question and make some note before we actually answer the question? So in this question, we can see we have 18 marks. And this 18 marks will contain few variance analysis question. So from here, the first thing we can see variances. So we have material price variance 5,000, that is adverse. Material use variance 7,000 favorable. And then we have a labor rate variance, that is adverse, and labor efficiency variance, that is favorable. Then we have fixed overhead, that is expenditure variance, that is favorable, and fixed overhead volume variance, that is favorable. So actual cost of the production 60,000. So first thing we have to see the link between these two, the material price and uses, then link between labor rate and labor efficiency, then fixed overhead expenditure and volume. So this one will give us some clue to identify the answer. Top of that, we have some additional information from this question. So recent event storage facilities. Alternative storage facilities were rented at the beginning of the last month leading to lower monthly payment. So basically the alternative storage reduce some cost, lower the monthly payment. That means this is the reason the fixed cost expenditure is going down. So number 1 hence we already have. So let's have a look at the breakdown. It's a machinery. At the beginning of the last month, an investment was made in more modern and efficient machinery which has a slightly smaller monthly depreciation charge. So a smaller depreciation charge. So this is a point. Because of the smaller depreciation charge, the fixed cost is reduced, and that brings us the favorable 7,000 variance. The next one. The next point we have here said EZO Limited recruited skilled machine operators to operate the machinery at the start of the last month. EXO Limited made the existing unskilled worker redundant. So basically they rid of some unskilled labor at the same time. So obviously that will bring some cost. If you see the labor cost is adverse, that could be one of the reason because of the existing labor is redundant. So of course like you have to pay some money for those employees who are redundant. The unskilled worker had been notified of the redundancy 3 months ago. So you give them the notice like you will be redundant after 3 months. So we understand the company recruits some new skilled employee. On the other hand, the unskilled employee, they will be redundant. So skilled labor will be very good for the company. On the other hand, the unskilled labor, when they leave the company, of course, there will be some cost at the beginning when you make them redundant. So that will be good for the company for the long term. Now let's have a look what could be the possible reason for the material variance, labor variance, and the fixed overhead variance. Now the first point we have to see, in material we have two. One is price, one is uses. We can see the material price variance is adverse, that is bad, and users variance is favorable, that is good. Now what could be the possible reason? The possible reason is when we have a better quality of material, of course the price will go up. So for example, we used to use a less qualityful material and the price was less. That was bring maybe the material price variance favorable. But now when I change the strategy, now I'm buying a very good quality material. And if I buy very good quality material, of course I have to pay more for that. And if I pay more for that, that will bring a material price variance adverse. And this is the possible reason the company are paying more, and that brings the material price variance adverse. So we said better quality material. So that could be the possible reason that material price variance is adverse. The next question we have here, that is material users variance. You see, it's very clear from the scenario. As soon as we started using the better quality material, we can see the users variance become favorable. So because of the better quality, we use less quantity. As the quality is really good now, the quantity we need is very less because the wastage is less. So we say here less quantity, and less quantity bring the better result. So you can see our users variance is 7,000 favorable because we are now using better quality material, and that brings us 7,000 material use variance favorable because now the wastage is really low, and of course that will bring us very good result for the users. The next point we have here, labor rate 10,000 adverse and labor efficiency 10,000 favorable. So this is kind of the same story because we have recruited skilled labor, and if the labor is skilled, then we have to pay more money to them. So we need to understand, if the labor is skilled, we have to pay more money to them, and if we pay more money to the skilled labor, that will bring labor rate adverse because maybe we used to have unskilled labor. The question very clearly said we had before unskilled labor, and this labor we redundant everyone. So of course, like if we don't have unskilled labor anymore, and if we have now only skilled labor, so we have to pay more money to them. So this is the reason the labor rate gone up, and that brings us 10,000 adverse. On the other hand, labor efficiency variance 10,000 is favorable because now the skilled labor working and they work more efficiently, and because of that they are more fast, their product is more qualityful, and that brings us labor efficiency 10,000 favorable. The next point we have here, that is fixed overhead expenditure 7,000 favorable. This is clearly because of the depreciation is lower, and of course that will bring us a lower payment, and that brings us 7,000 favorable for the expenditure variance. So we can say 7,000 because of the reduction of the depreciation charge of the new machinery. And for the efficiency, we can say because of the skill labor, now the productivity is improved. So new skill labor, they work very efficiently, and because of that we have a fixed overhead volume that is 11,000 favorable because it's look like they produce more during their working hours, and because of that they are making more unit than expected, and therefore the volume variance is 11,000 favorable. So that's how we can identify all this issue, and we can write it down on the box. So let's write it down some point on the box. Alright, so for the material standard, the first point we're going to make, that is maybe the price is increased generally anyway. So for any reason, maybe the price goes up of the material, and that could bring 5,000 adverse. So you can say general number 1. Number 2, the higher quality material. Higher quality material that will give you more cost. So if you buy the more qualityful material, that will give you more cost. Maybe this to bring £5,000 adverse variance. The next point is for the material uses variance, that is favorable 7,000. So we can say it is very clear the skill level and the quality material. So skill level material, so both are the reason for the 7,000 favorable use variance. So skill labor, they work more efficiently, and the quality material is a less wastage. So these two reasons will bring 7,000 favorable uses variance. The next point we have the labor standard. Of course, the first point here, higher skilled worker will be paid a higher hourly rate. So higher skilled labor will receive higher hourly rate, and of course this is the reason that will bring 10,000 adverse rate variance. So 10k adverse variance, reason for that. Number 2, the favorable efficiency variance, that is 10,000. What could be the reason for that? So basically, if we have a skilled labor, they will work more efficiently and capable of producing more component per hour. They may also be highly motivated as they had been recruited with the new roles, and this would lead to a favorable efficiency variance, that is 10,000. So we can say the skilled labor work more efficiently. So skilled labor work more efficiently, and that will bring 10,000 favorable variance. Fixed overhead variance. Fixed overhead variance is very clear. 7,000 is favorable because of the reduction of the depreciation charge on the new machinery. Reduction of depreciation for the new machinery, the rent, both will bring the variance down. So that brings us 7,000 favorable. On the other hand, skill labor, the skill labor will be more efficient on productivity, and that will give 11k favorable variance. So that's all we have to say for this reason. You can see only 2 marks. If you write 2 lines, 2 marks. So let's move on to the next one. Have a look what we have in this question. The first question answer we have already written in the box. So we can see the B, we don't have any place. Normally maybe we have to explain this on a different box. In the exam you should have a space where you can write it down. But let's talk about B now, and maybe you can write here, just making a small box. The first one is asking, explain why the following standard may need to be amended in EZO limited standard cost card in order to make variance analysis more effective in future. So if you don't change it because you're now buying more quality material, so you have to revise your budget, you have to revise the standard. If you don't do it, there will be always variance, because you will say, listen, before my quality of the material wasn't that good. Now the material quality is really good, so I have to revise the standard because now I'm expecting less waste. So it has to be revised. So we said better quality material are used now, so the standard have to be revised. So better quality material is used, the standard has to be revised. Obviously, otherwise the standard material use may need to be reduced to reflect standard input material quantity is less for the new machine. Obviously, now we know because of the good quality material we need less material in the machine because the quality is good. Number 2, we have labor standard. Of course, the high skill labor, they will work really efficiently, and of course the cost per hour will be more. So we need to say the rate per hour need to be increased because they are now skilled labor. It's not like before we use unskilled labor, so the labor is skilled now. So we have to say that. If we say that, then obviously the difference we can calculate more accurately. If we don't change the standard, if we still keep the same standard like before that we used to keep for the unskilled labor, so that will be still same. So you have to change it. So you have to change the rate per hour. Obviously that will bring down more accurate figure when you do the analysis for the variance. The last point we have here, that is fixed overhead standard. So obviously we're going to do some savings. We'll have some saving for the rent on the storage facilities, and that will reduce the standard fixed cost expenditure in total. Of course, top of that, any long-term increase in expected production level will reduce the standard fixed cost per unit. So storage, so you can see that obviously if the storage cost goes down, and because of that fixed cost per unit will be also reduced. As you already know, the fixed cost is the total, but if the fixed cost is reduced, that also reduce per unit. So if we can reduce our fixed cost, that will be helpful to reduce the cost per unit. Let's move on to the next question. Task number 6. Task number 6, we have this question for 15 marks. So let's have a look what we have in this question. Complete the statement below. Reducing the cost of product without reducing its value to the customer is an example of removing a non-value activity. Non-value added activity. So if I remove the value that is not added any value to the product, if I remove this type of cost, that will be the example of non-value added activity. For example, reducing the cost, obviously if I used to make a package, and let's say the packaging cost is really high, let's say the box is really expensive, and I think it will not something that will add some value of the product. So let's say from now if I use less cost for the packaging or for the box, that even doesn't look like very gorgeous like before, but that is a really cheap, and that will reduce the total product cost, and that is helpful for the customer. So maybe the main product quality still remains same, but the product price go less because of the cost custom on the packaging. So if this type of cost we reduce, that will not affect or have impact on the product, we called it non-value added activities. The next point we have here, they're saying complete the following statement. The innovation and learning perspective is associated with the concept of balanced scorecard. So innovation of learning is one of the way we can identify we can identify from different, like 4 perspectives. So one of these is called innovation of learning, and this chart or this formula, the way we can identify or analyze the area is called balance scorecard. So balance scorecard. The next point we have here, the question number C, is saying a small business has supplied the following information. It's the turnover 1,500,000, 1.5 million, cost of material 700,000, cost of brought in service 300,000, number of employee 10. Use the information provided to complete the statement below. The total value added is, how much is the total value? So from the turnover, if I minus the cost, so 1.5 million and here is 1 million, so the difference is 500,000. So basically this is the total value added, so 500,000. The value added P is a measure of productivity. So value added per employee is the measure of, or is the example of, productivity. Let's move on to the next one. The next one we have here is saying a business with receivables 120,000 and a receivable collection days 30 days operates on a gross profit margin 25%, net profit margin 15%, fixed production overhead constitute 40% of the cost of sales. Alright, so we have to find the sales first. It said the receivables or debtors is 120,000 and this is for 30 days. So we need to find for the 356 days because we are calculating for the whole year. So let's find it out how much is the sales. So to find the sales, we need to calculate the sales for 365 days. So we said 120,000 for 30 days. So how, if I divide that, so it will tell me how much is the receivables or sales for 1 day. And if I multiply by 365, me the sales for the whole year. So 120,000 divide 30 times 365, that gives me 1460,000. So 1460, this is for the whole year. And then it says the cost of sales. The cost of sales is 75%. How do I know cost of sales 75%? Because they said the gross profit is 25. So if the gross profit is 25, then the cost of sales will be 75 because total of this should be 100%. So if my gross profit is 25%, you already know sales minus variable production cost or sales minus cost of sales is the gross profit. So if my cost of sales is 75 and the gross profit is 25, so we can find it out, the cost in the middle. So let's have a look. How can I do that? So first we identify how much is the cost of sales. So the gross profit is 25. That means the cost of sales is 75. So 75% of the sales. So 75%, and that give us cost of sales 000. So cost of sales 1095000. Now they're saying the fixed production cost is 40%. So if the fixed production cost is 40%, so let's do the 40% of that. That is 438,000. So 438,000, and the remaining will be the variable. So that's very easy. So from the cost of sale 1095, if 438 for the fixed, then the remaining will be for the variable. So the remaining will be 657,000. And sales minus cost of sales, that will give me my gross profit. And the gross profit is 365,000. Then we'll come back to the non-production cost, and after that, if I minus the non-production cost, that will give me the profit. Now they said the net profit is 15%. So if my net profit is 15%, so let's calculate that, how much it is. So sales is 1460 times 15% is the net profit. So if I write the 15% net profit, that is 219,000, and find the difference, that will give us the non-production cost, 146,000. So this question is linked to every single information we have to each other. So you have to make sure you understand this question. If you do some practice, you will be absolutely fine. It's not a difficult question. The next one we have here, it says, based on your calculation in D, if payables or purchase ledger control are 117, what is the payable period to the nearest day? So we already know the payable period days. How to calculate that? So we write the payable in the top, and on the bottom we write cost of sales and we multiply by 365. So let's say our payables is 117. You have to memorize some formulas. It will help you to calculate so many ratios. And the cost of sales, so we can see that is 1095,000 times 365. So 117 divide 1095 times 365, that gives you 38.9. So we can say 39 days. 39 days. Let's move to task number 7. In this task, we're going to see the contribution per unit using the limiting factor, and the limiting factor is a very, very important question from this paper. And if you don't understand yet what is limiting factor sometimes is called the scarce resources. So when you have something that is limited, for example, let's say you have a lot of demand in the market for a product, but you don't have enough resources to sell it, or maybe you don't have enough capacity to make the product and sell it in the market. Now limiting factor could be anything, but normally for this exam you're going to see the limiting factor either will be the labor hour, or it will be the machine hour, or the material. So these three things you are expecting as a limiting factor. So let's read this question what we have here. Task number 7, it says a company manufactures two products, Jackal and Hyena. The information below relates to the next reporting period per unit. Jackal and Hyena, direct material at 5 per kilo. So we can see 10 pound, that means we need 2 kilo here for Jackal. And Hyena we need 15, so that means we need 3 kilo, because 5 pound per kilo, so we need 3 kilo of the material. The next point, we have direct labor, 6 per hour. So we can say 6, that means 1 hour we need to make 1 J, and we need 2 hours to make 1 H, because 12. So 12 divided 6 is 2 hours. Variable overhead 2 and 4, selling price 25 and 40. Sales demand 5,000 and 11,000. So issue will happen, even though demand is really high, 5 and 11, we don't have enough resources. We cannot make all of this. Either there is a shortage of material or there will be shortage of labor. Let's have a look. Which one is the shortage here? As a result of recent transport strike, material are limited to 55,000 kg and labor hour are limited to 20,000 hour. So we need to see which one is the limiting factor. What is the requirement here? The requirement here is complete the table below for the next reporting period by calculating the missing figure for the Jackal and Hyena. So let's have a look. What is the contribution? The formula for the contribution you already know, sales minus variable cost, that will give you the contribution. Contribution per limiting factor hour, whatever is the contribution here, we have to divide with the shortage of our, which factor is shortage. For example, it could be material, could be the labor. So we don't know yet, so we have to calculate that. And the optimal production plan. Optimal production plan is, that will tell you like what is the best solution for you. So which one you should make fast and which one you should make later. So should I make Jackal fast or should I make Hyena fast? So of course we'll make which one gives me more contribution per limiting factor. So which one give me more contribution per limiting factor? I will make that one first. All right, so let's have a look which one is shortest. We can see we have a 55,000 kilo of material and we have 20,000 of labor hour. Let's have a look how many hour or labor we need if we want to make everything. So the first thing we can see, the demand for 5,000 for jackal. So let's say how many material we need to make J. So we said 5,000 times, we need here 2 kilo, so 10,000 kilo we need for making all this jackal. And for H we need 3 kilo per H. 3 kilo means 15 pound and 5 pound per kilo, so it's 3 kilo is 15 pounds, so we need to multiply by 3. So we can see it's 11 times 3 is 33,000. So 33,000 plus 10, that will give us 43,000. So we need 2,000 to make all the demand. 5 plus 11, and we have 55. So we are very happy with the material. It is not the limiting factor because we can make all the demand we have, and we have enough material to make or fulfill our demand. The next question we have the labor. Let's have a look what happened to the labor. So we can see we need for J 6, so 5,000 unit, we need 1 hour each, so that gives me 5,000 hour. And for H we need 2 hours for 11,000 unit, so that gives me 22,000 hour. So total we need 27,000 hour, but unfortunately we have only 20,000 hour available, so we have a shortage of 7,000. So we have to see what is the best possible way to use this 20,000 hour and get the maximum profit. This is the question. So now we understand the labor hour is the shortest. So let's have a look what we have here. First, calculate the contribution per unit. So sales minus variable cost. So sales is 25 and the variable cost is 10. So 10 for the direct material, 6 for the direct labor, and the variable overhead 2. So 18. 10, 6 to 18. So 25 minus 18. So that will give us the contribution per unit for the jackal, that is 7. And the same way we calculate for the henna, 15 plus 12 plus 4 minus 40. So that will give you 16, 15, 31, 40. So that will give you 9. So 9 contribution. The next thing we have to see what is the contribution per limiting factor. This is very, very important. How to get it? So let's say for jackal we need 1 hour. For the hyena we need 2 hours. So the contribution per limiting factor, divide with that 7 divided 1, that will give me 7 anyway. And 9 divided 2, that will give me. So we understand contribution per limiting factor, H give me more than J, because H give me only £4.50 per hour and it will give me £7 per hour. So let's write it down here, 7 per limiting factor. Here it is 4.5. Now the question is which one I should make first, because J is giving me £7 per hour. The contribution means kind of profit. So if this give me, the J give me profit 7 per hour, so of course I should make the J first, then any hour remaining I will make the H. So let's have a look at the optimal plan. On the optimal plan, there is no doubt I'm going to make all the J first. The demand is 5,000. And for the H, we have a demand in the market 11,000. But we cannot, the reason we don't have enough hours. So let's have a look. 20,000 hour, for J, we need 5,000 because making one unit, J will take 1 hour. So 5,000 hour will be gone. So 15,000 will be left. And to make one H, we need to use 2 hours. So we can maximum 7,500 of unit H. So you're going to say 7,500. So you're going to make the full J first because J will give me the higher contribution. Any hour remaining will make H. So that's how we can complete the table for the limiting factor. The next question is asking, explain why you have chosen the production levels you given in answer 1 and consequence of choosing a different level of production. You may use the calculation to support your answer. It's very important. So to understand this question, all you need to say, the first thing you have to say, we don't have enough resources. So do not have enough resources, that means the labor hour, to fulfill the demand. So you can show the calculation. If I want to fulfill the demand, I will need 43 kg of material that I have, but I need 27,000 hours of labor that I don't have. So you can say that because of that I have to choose which one I should make first. So based on the calculation, we can see the contribution per limiting factor, Jekyll will give me more and Heine will give me less. So that's the reason I have to make all the 5,000 unit Jekyll first, then Heine. So that will maximize my contribution. How? You can show the workings. You can say if I want to make all 11,000 H, so I cannot, because every unit of H take 2 hours, so that need 22,000 hours. We have only 20,000 hours. If I use all 20,000 hours to make H, so I can make only 10,000 unit for H, and every unit will give me the contribution 9. So that will give me total contribution 90,000, and I will not be able to make any J because if I use all my hours to make H. On the other hand, if I make 5,000 of J and 7,500 of H, that will give me more profit. How? You can show that. So you can say 7,500 times 9 and times 7. So that will give you 35,000 and that will give you 67,500. And if you added these two, the total contribution will be 102,500, and that is more than 90,000. So if you decided to make only H, your total profit will be 90,000. And if you decided to make 5,000 of J and 7,500 of H, that will give you the total contribution 102,500. So this is what you will get, and that's the reason you choose to use the hours more efficiently, and that is the most optimal production plan for the company. Let's move to the next question. Let's have a look what we have here. The next question is for to buying the new equipment or not to buy. So basically it depends, it will increase the profit or not. So let's have a look. The question says a company is considering purchasing a new equipment and has drawn up a comparison of the current situation and the proposed situation with the new equipment. So this is the current situation. If I don't buy, if I buy, some cost will be reduced. So 15% of the uses will be reduced and 20% decrease in the hours. On the other hand, the fixed cost will be increased 79,500. So let's have a look. What is the question? The question said calculate the profit for the current and the proposed situation. So we have to calculate for both situation. And the next one is asking what should we do? Of course, like if the current situation gave us more profit, so we don't have to buy the new equipment. If the proposed situation increase the profit, then we have to say yes, we should buy that. So let's calculate the profit for both situation. So we said current situation and the proposed situation. On the current situation, let's say direct material, that is 3 kg and 5 per kg, and for 5,000 unit, that will give us how much? Let's calculate that. So 3 times 5 times 5,000, that gives you 75,000. Then you have a direct labor. So a direct labor, that is 6 times 10 times 5,000. So 60 times 5,000, that will give you 300,000. And we have a fixed cost 277,500. This is our cost. From the cost, if we need to minus the sale, so let's have a look how much is the sales. 5,000 unit, 150 each. So 5,000 times 150, that will give you 750,000. So if I minus from the sales, that will give us the profit. So let's calculate the profit. Total cost minus sales, that will give you the profit, that is 97,500. That's my profit on current situation. If I don't change, that's my profit. What happens if I change? So we have to find that. If we change, if the profit is more than 97,500, we'll say buy the new equipment, and if it is less than that, we'll not buy the new equipment. So according to the proposed situation, it says the direct material will be reduced by 15%. So 75,000 will be reduced by 15%. So it's a 75,000 times 85%, that will give you 60. Then it says direct labor, that will be cost will be reduced by 20%. So 300,000 times 80%, that will give you 240. And they say the fixed cost will be increased by 79. So 277 plus 79,500. So 277,500 plus 79,500, that will give you 375,000. And if I added all of this, that will give me the cost, and I will minus it from the sale, and that will give us the profit. So let's have a look how much is the profit. So we can see the profit is 89,250. So if I keep as it is, the profit is 97,000. If I buy the new machine, the profit is 89. So the profit is less. If I buy the new machine, my profit will be less. So I'll not buy the machine. That will bring me the less profit. So I'll say no, I'm not going to buy the profit. So the current situation, the profit is 97,500, and with the situation, the profit will be 89,250. And we can say complete the sentence whether or not the equipment should be accurate. Use the drop down box to select your answer. So we said would not be. So would not. So that means it would be a new machine because it will reduce our profit. All right, so let's move on to the next question. Task 8, 15 marks. Let's have a look what we have here. This question is saying Harp Limited manufactured two products, Rose and Theme. The budgeted cost for the two overhead activities is follow: material handling 400,000, production setup 600,000. Further information has been provided below. Rose and Theme, so direct material, direct labor, then direct labor per hour per unit, so 3 hours and 2 hours, that's the amount. Then number of material acquisition, this is 400 and 1200. Number of production setup 150, 450. Budgeted production unit 50,000 and 25,000. So look like it's like absorption costing. So let's have a look. Activity based costing. So let's have a look what will be the requirement. The first requirement we have here: complete the table using the activity based costing, that is ABC. All right. Using the information supplied in A, calculate the fixed overhead assuming they are absorbed on the budgeted labor hour basis. All right, no problem for that. We can do that. So OAR, overhead absorption rate. So this is the budgeted activity divide the total number of labor hours. And we have discussed advantage and disadvantage of moving to ABC system for the company. So what is the advantage if you using ABC rather than or instead of using the absorption costing and the marginal costing? So that's not very difficult question. So let's have a look. Start with the first one. That is complete the table using the activity based costing. The first one is cost driver per material acquisition, cost driver per setup, total material handling, and the total production setup. So let's do this one. All right, let's calculate the cost driver per acquisition for the material. So cost driver per material requisition. So you can see the material handling cost is 400,000, and the material acquisition we have 400 plus 1200, that is 1600. So we can say 400,000 divided 1600, that gives me 400,000 divided 1600, 250 per material handling. The next one we have the production setup. So the total production setup cost. So production setup total production is 600,000. and divide how many production setup we need for rows and theme both. So 150 plus 450, that is 600. 600, that will give you 1000 per setup. Alright, so now we can calculate the total cost for the box. Let's have a look. So we have here 250 per requisition, what we have calculated already. So let's have a look how many we need for the rows and theme. So you can see for the rows we need 400 and 1200. So 250 times 400, that will give you the total for rows, so 100,000. And for the theme is 1200, so 1200 times 250, that will give you 300,000, and that is the total 600,000. The way we did here, it was the same way for the production setup. So how many setup we need? We need for the rows 150 and for the theme 450. So 1000 times 150, that will give you 150, 100,000, and this one will give you 450, and this is the total of 600,000. So that's how we can calculate the activity based costing for the cost driver. Let's move on to the next one. What will be the overhead absorption rate for both rows and theme? Alright, so this question is asking to calculate the total fixed overhead using the labor hour basis. So let's have a look how many total labor hour we need for rows and theme. So you can see for making one unit we need 3 hours, and total we need 50,000 unit for R, for rows and for T. Let's say labor hour. So for R we need 50,000 unit, and every unit need 3 hours, so that will give me 150,000 hour. And for the T we can see we need 2 hour for 25,000 unit, so 25,000 unit times 2, that gives me 50,000, and if I added this 2, that will give me 200,000 hours total. So my total overhead is 1 million, isn't it? If I added this to 400,000 plus 600,000, that's 1 million. Then we have to split between rows and theme based on their hour requirement. So R need 150,000 hour and the T need 50,000 hour. So let's do that then. So we said total overhead is 1 million and total labor hour is 200,000. So 200,000, and if I divide that, that will give me 0.5 per hour. For the rows we need 150,000 hour, so time 0.5, so that is gives me 150,000 times 0.5, that gives me 750,000. So 750,000, and the rest we need 50,000 hour for the theme, so should be 25,000 times 50,000, so that will give me rest, that is 250,000. So we can see that's how we can calculate. So we have 150,000 hour for our rows, so you multiply with that, and 250,000 you multiply with that, and of course like that's the total overhead that we have to split between rows and theme. I think it's 50 not 5 if we divide by that, so 1 million divide 200,000, that gives me 5. So basically when you multiply, you should multiply with 5, not the 0.50. I take one less 0, that's why it's showing the 0.5, so it's 5. So 150,000 times 5, that will give you 750,000, and 50,000 times 5, that will give you 250,000. So I was thinking how come like it's not matching. If I added this to, it should be total of 1 million. Alright, so let's have a look at the next one. This is the advantage of the ABC, because they're saying the total unit cost for ABC is 37, for the theme is 53. Under the labor hours, the cost is 47 and the theme is 33. You can see the picture is different because I'm saying under the ABC method my cost for the rows is 33 and for the theme the cost is 53. But if I use the labor hour basis, I'm saying the cost is 47, so I'm showing more cost for the rows and less cost for the theme. Now obviously, like, I'm not calculating the cost more accurately. ABC using the cost driver and it trying to find every single cost based on very specific activities. So for example, it's not like for the whole labor hour, because there is some other factor that also determine for calculating the unit cost. So if you use the labor hour, you ignore the other factors, but if you use the ABC, you have a more accurate calculation when you calculate the unit cost. So your decision could be changed. For example, if you decided to close any of the product or any of the services under the ABC method, you might think rows give you the less cost, so you want to keep it. But if you use the labor hour, you see rows give you more cost, you might decide to close it. Actually, it's not the rows, it's themes that give you more cost. So that's how you can decide. When you decide the product or the service, using the activity cost will give you more accurate information. So what is the most advantage you will get if you move from the move to an ABC costing method, and the disadvantage? So let's write some point here. The first point we're going to write more accurate information I'll get by using the ABC costing. The next one will be, it will be help us to take better decision. So better decision making, and obviously that will give us better understanding of allocation for the overhead. Advantages is it is complex. Sometimes the management, they don't understand the ABC, and time consuming. So it will take more time than the traditional method. So these two are very common disadvantages. You can always write that, and it's only 7 marks question. If you write 10 lines, that will be more than enough for that. So you can see that's how we can complete our whole question for the sample assessment 1 from the AAT website. And of course, like, I try to explain as detailed as possible. If you still have any question, you can always email me. You have my email details on the below description, so I'll be happy to help you if you need any help from me. Thank you very much for watching.